and I am Lynn, and I'm coming to you from Cardiff in Wales in the UK. This is a knitting, crochet, fibre-based fortnightly podcast, and we follow the usual plan of works in progress, finished objects, stash acquisitions, but mainly stash rediscoveries for me because I am trying desperately to work through my stash. And then a little bit of chat about life and what I've been up to at the very end. So thank you so much for joining me. If you are a new viewer, welcome. Thank you so much for giving me a try. I'm glad you've tuned in. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really do appreciate all of you spending some time with me today and seeing what I've been up to. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram as Calon Yarns, on Ravelry as Calon Yarns, all the places really. You know, just have a little look and find what I've been up to over there on the social media world. Anyway, on with today. So finished objects. I don't have any finished objects that I have finished this last fortnight, but I am wearing my Fern and Feather, which is a pattern by Knit Love Wool, Knit Love Wool, I think it is. I'll put the details here anyway. I really like this. I did it last year. I dyed, this was sort of my first foray into my own dyeing of yarn. So I dyed this myself. Let me just get up if I can. Yeah, it's a nice little length. It's a great pattern, really easy to do. So I really enjoyed it. So I would recommend it. Anybody who's even starting out on colour work. In fact, it's a great little starter pattern. So yes, weather-wise, is it cold enough yet in the UK to wear woolens? Not quite. But we do persevere, don't we? You know, it's important to get them out of the cupboard. I've just got this out of a case that I always put up in the loft. I always pack a lot of my woolly knits away over the summer. So I've just released these from their plastic baggage. How bizarre. Anyway, so yes, no finished objects that I have finished this week, but this is an old finished objects. So on to works in progress. I have been working on some socks. If you've been watching for a little while, you know I have absolutely lost my sock mojo, but these socks that I've been knitting in this glorious ball of yarn, which is mostly bamboo and polyamide. Yes, is it going to focus? I don't know. There we go. Yeah, mostly bamboo, so it's a really light sock yarn. Great sort of for this time of year really, when it's not kind of cold enough to wear your woolly socks. But this is knitting up really lovely. I'll show you the ball band in a second. But this is really nice, look. I'm loving the way this is working out. So I've sort of pretty much finished this tube. So I'm just about to start decreasing for the sock down here, and then I will put in an afterthought heel. But I really like those. Blues and greys tends to be my colour, as you will know if you've watched for a while, or as you will see if you come back. So yeah, it's a running theme really, which sort of means that most of my wardrobe matches. This obviously is not blues and greys, but it does have a little grey in there. Anyway, so yeah, that bamboo sock yarn is a sock yarn I bought from Wet Coast Wools when I was lucky enough to be over in Canada in the summer for work, but you know, gotta have some time off, do you know what I mean? So yeah, this is the ball band. I've practiced and everything with my camera, but I still don't think I'm getting it right. I have to watch a YouTube, yeah. So here we go. This is the Flot sock yarn, and it is, as always, 100 grams, 420 meters, polyacrylic and viscose with, let me see, yeah, polyacrylic with some bamboo and a little bit of polyester in there. So that's that. And I'm doing it on a 3.25 higher needle, which I really love. A lot of people don't like knitting their socks on these kind of round needles, but I really like them. I tend to, especially if they're vanilla socks, I find that I can just go round and round and round. I don't really have to worry even about, I don't even think I've put in a stitch marker for the beginning of the round. How reckless am I? Can you believe it? I haven't. I've just gone for it. I'm not caring. Yeah. So I like these when you're going kind of round and round and round. If you've got a pattern in your socks, then sometimes I find that the double pointed needles mean that you can kind of define those sections. Like if you've got cables or you're doing colour work, you can kind of divide up your sections and sort of makes the pattern easier to do. But when it's just vanilla socks, I really like these because it's simply round and round and round. Very methodical, very meditative. Is that a word? I think so. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing mostly, finishing off those. That's only the first sock, mind you, but for a non-sock mojo person at the moment, that's not too bad, I don't think. But the other work in progress I have is the Flea Cardigan. I'll put the details here, but I was a very, very good girl, and I was away for the weekend with my yarn buddies, and excuse me, and so I did a little practice swatch, a circular swatch. I didn't even go back and forth. I did all the stitches all the way round. So I did that swatch to practice some steeking because I've never steeked before and this pattern requires steeking. So I have put a bit of a video together of that process and me getting everything ready to begin the cardigan. So I will show you my progress the other side. But just a disclaimer, this is not a tutorial in any way, a tutorial. This is me trying to find my way through the steeking process and making lots of mistakes along the way, as you will see. But I will see you the other side. Play the movie. I have done a practice colour work circle ready to try steeking. I haven't steeked before, so it's a little bit of an experiment. I'm wanting to do the Flea Cardigan. So I have taken a little bit of that pattern, that colourwork pattern. I have done it in a load of colours and yarn that I just left over in my stash. There's some Jameson and Smith. There's also some Pinneguri. So yes, they're just about the same thicknesses, maybe slightly different, but I thought for an experiment it doesn't really matter. The fact is that they're all quite rustic yarn, so they will stick together really well. I have never done this before, and already I have realised I have done the checkerboard pattern for my 7 steek stitches. You can see here I've just put a little stitch marker. These are my 7 stitches, so this is my centre stitch. So I can see that actually I should have done them in the column method. I think the column method is probably easier, where you stack all the colours on top of each other, because then you can really see that centre stitch. Because the pattern is quite busy anyway, as I come to work those centre stitches, I'm probably going to get lost. There we go, whatever. I know that already. I have chosen a yarn that is the same thickness because I haven't got anything thinner, but is a different colour. Oops. So hopefully I'll have a better chance of actually keeping track of which legs of the stitches I'm using and which I am not. So I won't cut through this colour when it comes to actually cutting the yarn. Ah, scary. So yeah, I've watched a couple of videos. I've got my little crochet hook. I'm going to try it with this one. I've also got a 3 here. The knitting was done on a 2.75, I believe, or was it a 3? Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to try one side with one side with the other, and see which gives me the better finish. Because I want it to be neat and tight, of course, but not overly tight so that it loses its stretch. So I'll start with this one. I have watched a couple of videos, as I say, and they kind of advise to work perpendicularly. And what you're doing is you are picking up, if this is your center row here, you're picking up a leg from one side and a leg from the other and crocheting them together. And that gives you that steeked crochet edge that you can then cut up the middle. I mean, it all sounds fabulous in theory, doesn't it? But we shall see. I don't know why I did this. I've done like a ribbed edge, so I might run into trouble there as I try and attach everything and work up the centre. But we'll see. As I say, it's only a sample, so it doesn't really matter. But okay, eyes down, look in. I'll see you on the other side. So here we're coming up to the end now, and the temptation is to make these stitches baggy. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying not to pull quite a bit of yarn through to keep that, to keep the section as it would be, so that when I practice with the other hook, I'm just trying to work out whether the hook is the right size, whether it's about how much yarn I'm pulling through and how big I'm physically making the stitches. We're on to the last little bit here, and this is a bit where it's slightly messy because I did a ribbed edge. Although I guess, is there a ribbed edge on the cardigan? I suppose so. As long as it's a 2-2 rib maybe, and you hit the knitting stitches next to your steek, I suppose that's what you've got to look for, I guess, in the pattern. Have I done that right? I think so. So I'm just going to get to the end, see how we go. Oh, see, that's the knitting, that's the cast on edge, so that's slightly odd. And then I guess through that at the edge, at the bottom. Fab. Just, see, I keep splitting the yarn because I'm so not used to working with such a small hook. I haven't done that for ages. There we go. Put that off. Send that through. Okay. So that's one side done. Seems quite stretchy, not too bad. We'll have a go at the other side now on a slightly bigger hook. Okay. So I have a go at this one, the 3. Okay, so I've done either side of my steek, and now it's time to cut. I hope this is okay. I can see the ladders in between my stitches as I go, just about. So I am hoping that this that this all holds up. We shall see. Okay, so I'm going to go and cut the end. I'm going to work my way up and hope for the blinking best. I haven't got my best glasses on, if I'm honest. So, talk about flying blind. Oh gosh. Is this right? Well, we'll see. It's a good job, isn't it, that we've done a test one, because if this was my actual garment, I would be very, very tense. I mean, I'm tense enough as it is, but good grief. Okay. Oh, it feels so wrong to be cutting your knitting whilst wearing your bad glasses. and breathe. Oh, goodness me. How stressful is that? God, if I had spent, I don't know how people do that on their first garment. If I had spent weeks and weeks and weeks knitting my garment, oh my goodness, that would have been even more exhausting. Okay, so look, okay, I think that's all right. I think that's the end. I think they'll curl around. That side I did on the slightly larger hook, and actually it's splaying out a little bit. That size is on the smaller hook. So yeah, I think the smaller hook sort of makes it a little bit neater. Would you agree? So that's on the smaller hook. And that one on the bigger hook. Yeah, it kind of allows it to stretch out a little bit too far, I think. So cool. Phew. Hello, hello. So I have done my practice. My little practice STEEKING shenanigans, which went okay. Excuse my tired face. I've been up sorting out the loft all morning. Anyway, so I've done that, cut through that. That seems to be fine. So now I am going to cast on my Flea cardigan. But of course, that all takes time. So what have we got here? We have got the ball winder, of course. We have got the Swift, of course. We have the pattern, of course. And now we have the yarn that I bought from Varbit Yarns in Oslo in January when I was over there. The lovely, lovely Layla gave me lots of advice of colours, etc. and what I should do it out of. So here, finally, they get unleashed from their bag of dreams. Da, 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 da. So what have we got? Now, as far as I can remember, it's awful, isn't it? You buy these things and you're really specific and you know that that's exactly what it's going to be. There's exactly the colours you're going to use and how to use them, and now I can't quite remember. But as far as I can remember, that is going to be the main colour of the cardigan, and then into there we bring these glories. So yeah, those are the ones that were my practicey bits and bobs, and these are the ones that I will be doing this splendid cardigan out of. Exciting times. So now I just need to wind them all up. I need to remember which way round they were going to go. Yeah, so I've got a busy afternoon ahead. It is the Solja yarn, as I'm sure I will tell you in the next podcast. So rusticy. I'm trying to get better at wearing rusticy yarns, so this is going to be my first foray really into that. I knitted a jumper for my husband out of the Hillesvag, but it was a different brand, slightly thicker, and he wears that fine as long as it's over something. So hopefully it will be smooth enough for me to wear. I think once you work it up, it kind of gets a little bit softer. So yes, hooray! Finally out of the bag and onto the ball winder. Off we go. So yes, I have cast on for the Flea cardigan. As you can see, I worked out my chart and which colours represented what as I was working through the colour chart. I'm doing it in the Solja, the Hillesvag Solja. This is the ball band, and like I said, I had lots of advice from Layla at Varbit, where I bought the yarn, and it's really getting softer already actually. It's really reasonably priced, this yarn. What does it say? It is 100 grams and it's 350 meters. So I always have to put a little note there of what the color actually is, because obviously the color code means nothing to me once I've put it in my bag. And what I will do then is sellotape a bit of yarn to this ball band, so that if I want to redo it, or I really like working with the yarn, or I've got the ball in my stash and I can't remember what it is, I can sort of match it up with the ball band. It sounds like I'm doing that because I'm like really good, you know, polish the halo time. But it's because I've made so many mistakes in the past thinking, oh yeah, that was that colour, and carried on or tried to match things up or tried to mend something, and it's not the colour at all. So this is me from learning from my mistakes, essentially. So yeah, keep the ball bands and write the colour on there. So this is how it is working out, and I am loving it so far. Look. Really, really enjoying. And you know, from the video I was saying, oh, but there's a border in the pattern, so how does that work? Well, you just go back and forth in the beginning. That's what happens. You go back and forth to create the neckline, and then you work your steek stitches here. And I've tried to make them into a column as much as I can after learning from my mistakes. Every mistake is a learning opportunity, of course. Oh, my little stitch marker there from Solja Teague. So yeah, I'm nearly past the coloured yoke, and I'll be separating for the sleeves pretty soon. Hairing through that. These are the balls that I've been using most recently. In the video you can see that there's supposed to be a green in there. When I added the green, I don't know, there was something about the combination that just didn't suit, or I didn't really like. And this is my choice of colours. This isn't what is laid out in the pattern, so it's not a criticism of the pattern. It's operator error, as things usually are. So I took the green out, and actually I quite like this now that it's very bluey. You see, I told you, very bluey and reds and turquoisey, and then the main body of the sweater with the little bits of flea stitches will be this shade of blue. Yeah, so I am very much enjoying getting back into colour work. Oh my goodness, it's just so addictive. It's one of those one more round kind of things. So it just seems to fly. I've got so many colourwork projects in my queue, it is unreal at the moment, to be honest. So I better get on, innit? Yeah, so I'm really enjoying that, and those are the only two things I've got on my needles, really. I've got a couple of things languishing in bags. They're having a little resting time. I sort of need to get those back out, actually. Check whether the moths have been on, to be honest. Yes, but that's all I'm working on at the moment. I hope you've started on your autumn, your fall projects, have you? I bet you have. I bet you have. You've probably planned, at the very least. Let me know, let me know. What else? So that's about it for what I've been working on. Acquisitions. No yarn acquisitions, because I did a little bit of yarn shopping while I was away in the summer. But as you can see from the beginning of the video, I've bought 2 books this last fortnight. One of them, and I've been meaning to get it for years and years and years, is the Knitting Without Tears, the Elizabeth Zimmerman book. That is very, very old. 1970s, I think this was first published. Oh my gosh, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I love the way she writes. It's quite old-fashioned in her language, which I love. So yeah, it's great. Excuse me. So I'm reading my way through this and having a very lovely time with her. This year for me is all about learning about techniques and how I can adapt things as I go. I love watching podcasters, but I find it frustrating when they say, oh, and I've just adapted this sleeve pattern, or I've used the yoke of this to do that. And I can't do that yet. So I am keen to expand my skills this year, those sort of analytical skills. Wet Coast Wools, they have a great sweater section that Glenda does, and Kelsey on Wet Coast Wools, and that's really interesting as well. Just starts to make you think about the, dare I say it, the mathematics of everything. But it's very interesting. I'm enjoying it very much. And then for Mother's Day this year, I treated myself. We'll just leave that there. As mothers, we know what that means. So for Mother's Day, I treated myself to a Pom Pom subscription. So this is the first Pom Pom magazine that I have had through that subscription. I've bought one of their magazines earlier. I bought the summer magazine from, I think it was 2015, a little while ago, that I picked up. And that's really lovely. The patterns are always really lovely. And there's lovely articles in it, there's lovely recipes in it. It's a really lovely read. And I don't know about you, but I read pattern books like novels, you know. I kind of have to go through them from beginning to end. Maybe it's like listening to an album. You know, nowadays when we kind of listen to music on shuffle, sometimes it's really important to listen to the album to see what the musician wants us to feel and think as we go through the whole album. I think that's the same with these kind of magazines. It takes you on a little journey, a little story. And something caught my eye, something I haven't done before, is brioche. Is it brioche or brioche? Because brioche is that French yummy bread, isn't it? The sweet bread. So is it pronounced brioche? I don't know. Let me know. So many questions this week. Have you started your autumn projects? How do you pronounce brioche? Brioche? But something that is wonderfully scrummy, did you see what I did there? That's really bad, isn't it? Is this. I love this pattern. I have never done brioche, so I am keen to have a little go at that. What a glorious shawl pattern that is. It is called Seelig, S-E-E-L-I-G. So I have some undyed double knitting in my stash, so I think I might be extremely brave and try and dye some up for that project. It uses a solid and a variegated, as much as I can understand. I think it's 200 gram balls of DK, which I'm pretty sure I have somewhere in my, hey, I'm going to start dyeing box. So I might have a little go at that maybe next weekend if I've got a bit more time. I of course want to crack on with my cardigan, but all the patterns in here are really lovely. So I'm excited to kind of work my way through a couple of those. So that's all I've bought. Yes. So I think for the knitting section of the show, that's about it really. So if you're leaving me here, thank you so much for coming along. I hope to catch up with you very, very soon. But if you're staying just to hear about what I've been up to, it's not very much this last couple of weeks. It's been so busy. I went away weekend before last with my yarn buddies, as I say. We went down to West Wales and had a lovely weekend all together. I hadn't really seen them over the summer. You know how it gets when kids are home and you're off on family holidays and you're herring and tearing here and there. So I hadn't really seen them much over the summer, so it was lovely to catch up with them. And I managed to get no footage. How ridiculous. Too busy eating and knitting and talking and snoozing, etc, etc. But that was really lovely, so thank you for a lovely weekend, lovely ladies. So did that and then have been back in work really. I teach in a university, so now is the time when all our students arrive back, and we have induction week next week, so we have been planning like crazy for that. Getting those lesson plans finished, getting your handouts done, getting your lectures prepared. This is the kind of the crazy time, so that once they're there and you start lectures, you can sort of take a bit of a breather because you're doing the thing. You're not preparing for the thing, you're just doing the thing. So yeah, that's been a little bit crazy in work, but it's exciting to get back into the new term, to meet our new students and to welcome those returning. So that is about it. My two kids are in their respective universities now. They're all settled in, they have everything. My husband's going up to see my son on Sunday, tomorrow. I went to see him yesterday, and I went to the amazing Fibre Hut, which is close by to where he is, a spinning shop. The spinning, weaving, needle felting, sells fibre. Oh my goodness, I went with my friend Carol, and I think I'm going to do a little vlog for that. So on the YouTube channel there'll be a vlog about Fibre Hut. It's brilliant. Like I say, it's in Evesham, and it was a lovely, lovely couple of hours. So I absolutely recommend that. Catch the vlog once I load it up. It should show you what it's all about, and maybe tempt you guys to head along there and see Guy and her amazing business. So yeah, that's about it. Everybody's ready to rock and roll for the new term. I'm going to leave it there, I think. I'm not sure how long this episode is with my little film in there, but I hope you have a lovely fortnight. I'm looking forward to doing some spinning on my drop spindle that I may or may not have purchased from Fibre Hut. You'll have to watch the vlog and see my first foray into spinning, and I will probably do a little bit of dyeing next weekend, so I will catch up with you in a fortnight. Thank you so much for dropping by. I will see you all very, very soon. Hol Bye.